My name is Sienna, I'm 28 years old, and I need to ask you something. Have you ever been so good at helping people that they forgot you were a person with your own life? For years, I was my family's go-to girl. Their backup plan, their emergency contact, their free babysitter, their personal chef, their unpaid event coordinator. I didn't just help out occasionally, I became their solution to everything. And the worst part? I let it happen. Maybe you know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe you've canceled your own plans because someone in your family needed you. Maybe you felt guilty for saying no, even when you were exhausted. Maybe you've watched your siblings live their lives while you put yours on hold to make theirs easier. If any of that sounds familiar, you're going to want to hear this story. Here's the thing nobody talks about. When you're always available, people stop seeing your time as valuable. They stop asking and start expecting. Can you help? Turns into you're helping, right? And before you know it, you're not the helpful family member anymore, you're the free maid. That was me. For 28 years, I played that role perfectly. My brother had his big lawyer career. My sister had her corporate job and perfect family. My parents had their retirement plans. And me? I had a business I'd built from scratch, but to them, working from home meant I was always free, always available, always willing to drop everything. Until I wasn't. One vacation. 10 days in Bali. That's all it took. One photo of me actually living my life while they waited for their free help that weekend, and everything exploded. Extended family saw it. Their friends saw it. Neighbors saw it. And suddenly, the truth they'd been hiding behind closed doors was out in the open for everyone to judge. That single Instagram post didn't just ruin their weekend plans. It destroyed the image they'd spent years building. And the best part? I didn't even try to expose them. I just stopped hiding. If you've ever felt taken for granted by the people who are supposed to love you most, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a like on this video and comment below where you're watching from because you need to hear how one woman's vacation photo brought an entire family's lives crashing down. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. I'm the youngest of 3 kids in the Chin family. My brother Marcus is 35, a corporate lawyer with a corner office and a mortgage that costs more than most people's annual salary. My sister Vanessa is 32, works in marketing at a tech startup, and has the kind of Instagram-perfect life that makes other people feel inadequate. Both of them are married. Both have kids. Both live within 20 minutes of our parents' house in suburban Seattle. And both of them, somewhere along the way, decided that my time belonged to them. It didn't start out that way. When I first graduated college, the requests were small. Reasonable, even. Hey, Sienna, could you help Mom with the Thanksgiving cooking? You know how stressed she gets. Or, Dad needs a ride to his doctor's appointment. Since you work from home, you've got more flexibility, right? I'm a freelance graphic designer. I run my own business. I have clients, deadlines, projects that pay my bills and keep my lights on. But to my family, working from home translated to basically unemployed and desperate for something to do. The requests got bigger. Can you watch the kids this Saturday? Just for a few hours. Then those few hours turned into all day. Then one Saturday turned into every Saturday. Then every Saturday and Sunday. By the time I was 25, I wasn't being asked anymore. I was being informed. Vanessa would text me on Friday afternoons, dropping the kids off at your place tomorrow at 9 a.m. Need a date night with Derek. No question mark. No, does that work for you? Just an assumption that my entire weekend existed to serve her schedule. When I tried to push back, she'd get defensive. What else are you doing? You don't have kids. You don't have a husband. You work from your laptop. I'm drowning over here, Sienna. Can't you just help me out? Marcus was worse in a different way. His wife, Courtney, treated me like staff she didn't have to pay. Sienna, we're hosting a dinner party next Saturday. Come over around 3 p.m. to help with the cooking and setup. And obviously stay late to help clean up. Translation: be our unpaid caterer and housekeeper while we impress our friends. I'd show up, cook a 4-course meal, serve drinks, clean dishes while they laughed in the living room, and go home at midnight smelling like garlic and exhaustion. The thank you is always the same: you're such a lifesaver. We couldn't do this without you. They were right. They couldn't. But they never stopped to ask if I wanted to. My parents made it worse. Mom would call me with that sugary sweet voice she uses when she wants something. Sweetheart, your brother is so busy with his career. Vanessa has so much on her plate with the kids. You understand, don't you? Family helps family. But here's what I noticed. Family only helped in one direction. When I landed a huge client last year and needed to work weekends to meet the deadline, I told them I'd be unavailable for a month. Just 1 month. You would have thought I'd committed a crime. Vanessa actually cried on the phone. But who's going to watch the kids? I can't cancel my plans. Do you know how expensive babysitters are? I know exactly how expensive they are, I said. Because my time costs money too. Every hour I spend babysitting is an hour I'm not earning or building my business. She called me selfish. Marcus sent me a long text about family values and how disappointed he was. Courtney sent her own message about how I was putting money before family. Mom called crying, telling me I was tearing everyone apart. Dad didn't say much, but his silence spoke volumes. You know how your mother gets. Is this really worth all the drama? I caved. Of course I did. I always did. I spent the next month sleeping 4 hours a night, surviving on coffee and anxiety, delivering my client's project while still showing up every weekend to be the family servant. I met every deadline. My client was thrilled. The project was a massive success. My family forgot to even ask how it went. That moment, that silence where they should have celebrated with me, that's when something inside me cracked. Not broke. Just cracked. Enough to let a little light in. Enough to make me wonder what life might look like if I stopped showing up to my own exploitation. Everything changed last year when I landed the biggest client of my career. A boutique hotel chain, 5 properties across the Pacific Northwest, needed a complete rebrand. New logo, new website, new marketing materials, the works. The kind of project that could put my business on the map. The kind of money that would match what I'd made in the previous 6 months combined. There was just one problem. The deadline was brutal. 6 weeks to deliver everything. Which meant working nights. Working weekends. Every available hour I had. For the first time in my adult life, I had a legitimate reason to be unavailable. A reason even my family couldn't argue with. Or so I thought. I called a family meeting. Explained the project, the timeline, the importance. I won't be able to help out for the next month, I said. I need every weekend to meet this deadline. The silence was deafening. Then Vanessa started crying. Actual tears. But what am I supposed to do with the kids? I can't just cancel all my plans. Do you know how expensive babysitters are? I know exactly how expensive they are, I said, keeping my voice steady. Because that's what my time costs too. Every hour I spend babysitting is an hour I'm not earning money or building my business. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. So you're choosing money over family? I'm choosing my career. The same way you choose yours every single day. Marcus jumped in, his lawyer voice in full effect. This is incredibly selfish, Sienna. We've always been there for you. And now, when we need you, you're bailing. When have you been there for me? The question came out before I could stop it. Name one time you adjusted your schedule for mine. One time you said no to something because it didn't work for me. Silence. Courtney sent me a long text that night about family values and priorities. How disappointed she was. How I was putting material success above the people who matter. Mom called the next morning, crying. You're tearing this family apart. Is a job really worth all this? It's not just a job, Mom. It's my business. My career. The thing I've been building for years. But your brother needs no. The word felt foreign in my mouth. I'm doing this project. They'll have to figure it out. Dad's response was the worst because it was so quiet. You know how your mother gets. Is this really worth all the drama? I wanted to scream that yes, my career was worth standing up for. But I was exhausted. Outnumbered. Drowning in guilt they'd spent years conditioning me to feel. So I caved. Like I always did. I found a way to make it work. I slept 4 hours a night. I survived on coffee and adrenaline and the constant anxiety of falling behind. I'd work until 2 a.m., grab a few hours of sleep, then show up at Vanessa's at 8 a.m. on Saturday to watch her kids. I'd work on my laptop during their naps, during cartoons while they played. Sunday was the same. Then back to all-nighters during the week. I delivered the project on time. Every deliverable met. Every deadline crushed. The client was thrilled. Wanted to refer me to their colleagues. It was the professional win I'd been working toward for years. My family forgot to even ask how it went. Not one text. Not one, "How'd the big project turn out?" Nothing. That silence, that complete absence of care, cracked something inside me. Not enough to break, but enough to let light in. Enough to make me wonder what would happen if I stopped showing up to my own erasure. You'd think proving I could juggle a major career milestone while still meeting all their demands would earn me some respect. Some acknowledgement that I had a real business with real responsibilities. It had the opposite effect. The next 8 months were worse than anything before. They'd tested my limits and discovered I apparently had none. So they pushed harder. Vanessa stopped asking permission entirely. She'd just appear at my door on Saturday mornings, kids already dressed with overnight bags packed, saying I knew you'd be home anyway before driving off. One weekend I wasn't there. I'd gone to meet a potential client for coffee. She called me furious, standing on my doorstep with 2 confused kids, demanding to know why I hadn't informed her of my schedule. The entitlement was staggering. Marcus and Courtney developed this new routine where they'd host family dinners at my apartment. They'd show up with bags of groceries, expecting me to transform their ingredients into a meal for 12 while they entertained in my living room. Then they'd leave right after dessert, sticking me with mountains of dishes and a trashed kitchen, heading home to their spotless house that never had to recover from hosting. "Your place just has that cozy vibe for gatherings," Courtney would say, like my smaller apartment being easier to mess up than their McMansion was somehow a compliment. The suffocating part wasn't the individual tasks. It was the complete absence of reciprocity. The one-way street that never even pretended to have a turnaround. When had anyone ever said, "What works for you, Sienna?" When had my schedule been the one that mattered? Never. I was a placeholder. An emergency contact, always one phone call from dropping everything. The safety net they never questioned because it was always there, ready to catch whatever they threw. My business started suffering in ways I couldn't ignore. I turned down projects because I couldn't guarantee weekend availability. I missed networking events because I was babysitting. I'd be up until 3 a.m. finishing work I should have completed during normal hours, all because my days were consumed by everyone else's needs. And here's the thing that kept me up at night. I was doing this to myself. Every yes when I meant no. Every time I rearranged my entire life to fit into the margins of theirs. Every time I swallowed my frustration and smiled through another family helps family lecture while watching that help flow in exactly one direction. I was volunteering for my own disappearance. If you've ever been the family member everyone depends on but nobody considers, hit that like button and drop a comment. Because what happened next didn't just change my relationship with my family, it changed everything. 3 months after that realization, my best friend Emma called me with an offer that should have been an immediate yes. "I just got promoted," she said, excitement bubbling through the phone. "VP of Operations. And I want to celebrate with a 10-day trip to Bali. Luxury villa, infinity pool, the whole thing. My treat. You're coming with me." My first instinct wasn't excitement. It was dread. 10 days. 2 full weekends. Who would watch Vanessa's kids? What about the family barbecue Mom was planning? What if someone needed me? The fact that those were my first thoughts, not "amazing" or "I'd love to," should have told me everything I needed to know about how deep I was buried in this pattern. "I'll think about it," I told Emma. She went quiet for a second. Then, "Sienna, when was the last time they adjusted their plans for you?" I opened my mouth to answer. Nothing came out. I scrolled through years of memories, looking for a single instance where someone had said, "That doesn't work for Sienna, let's reschedule." I couldn't find one. "I'm booking your ticket," Emma said. "You need this. And they need to figure out their own lives for once." She was right. I knew she was right. So I said yes. But I didn't tell my family until a week before departure. I kept thinking I was being considerate, giving them time to make other arrangements. Looking back, I was probably just delaying the inevitable explosion. When I finally told them, the reactions were exactly what I expected and somehow still worse than I'd prepared for. Vanessa was volcanic. 2 weekends? What am I supposed to do with the kids for 2 entire weekends? This is so inconsiderate, Sienna. I have plans. Hire a babysitter, I suggested. Or maybe you and Derek could, parent your own children. She hung up on me. Marcus's response came via email, 3 paragraphs about how he'd already promised Courtney that we'd host Thanksgiving at my apartment this year. It was July. Now you're ruining everything by deciding to take a vacation during a time when the family might need you. During a time when they might need me. As if my entire existence was meant to be on call for their convenience. Mom tried the emotional route. Your grandmother isn't getting any younger, sweetheart. How many more family gatherings will we have with her? And you're choosing to miss them for a vacation. Grandma does water aerobics 3 times a week, Mom. She's not dying. And I'm missing one summer barbecue, not her funeral. For the first time in my life, I didn't back down. I didn't apologize. I didn't try to make it work for everyone else at my own expense. The Friday before my flight, Vanessa texted me, "What time should I drop the kids off tomorrow?" "Early is better. We have brunch reservations at 11. I stared at that message for a full minute. I'm leaving for the airport at 5 a.m. I won't be available this weekend or next. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Very funny. Seriously, what time? I'm serious. I'm going to Bali. I told you 3 weeks ago. The dots danced for a solid minute before her response came through. You're being incredibly selfish. I hope you know that. I turned off my phone, finished packing, and went to bed early. The next morning, I got on that plane. Bali was everything I didn't know I was missing. Emma had rented this incredible villa on the outskirts of Ubud, perched on a hillside with an infinity pool that seemed to drop right into the rice terraces below. The view alone was worth the flight. Green as far as you could see, palm trees swaying, the sound of nothing but wind and distant birds. For the first time in years, I could breathe. We spent our days doing absolutely nothing productive. Massages at the spa down the road. A Balinese cooking class where I learned to make satay and nasi goreng without the pressure of feeding a dozen ungrateful relatives. We visited temples, watched sunsets from cliff tops, ate fresh fruit for breakfast by the pool. No one needed me. No one expected anything from me. I was just Sienna. Not Sister Sienna or Daughter Sienna or Free Babysitter Sienna. Just me. On the second weekend, the weekend Vanessa had expected me to watch her kids, Emma and I were having breakfast by the pool when a photographer approached. He worked with the resort, offering professional photos for guests who wanted to capture their stay. Why not? Emma said, nudging me. You look happy. Document it. He positioned me near the edge of the infinity pool, the jungle vista behind me, morning light filtering through the trees. I was wearing this flowing white dress I'd bought at a market in Ubud, my hair down, no makeup except sunscreen. Just laugh, he said. Think about something that makes you genuinely happy. I thought about the fact that right now, back home, Vanessa was probably scrambling to find last-minute childcare. Marcus was realizing I wasn't available to cook for whatever event Courtney had planned. Mom was dealing with the fallout of my absence. And I laughed. Not a polite smile for the camera laugh. A real one. The kind that comes from somewhere deep, from relief and freedom and the pure satisfaction of finally putting yourself first. The photographer captured it perfectly. Me, genuinely happy in a place they couldn't reach me. The infinity pool stretching behind me. The jungle framing the shot. I looked like someone who mattered. Someone who took up space in her own life. That night, I posted it to Instagram. The caption was simple. Sometimes the best thing you can do for people who take you for granted is let them see what they're missing. I didn't tag my family. Didn't mention them. Didn't make it about them at all. This post wasn't revenge. It wasn't a call-out. It was just me living my life, visible and unapologetic. I had no idea what I'd just set in motion. I kept my phone off for 3 days. Emma and I had agreed no work emails, no social media rabbit holes, just disconnection and presence. So I had no idea what was happening back home. On day 4, I turned on my data to check in with a client. My phone exploded. 17 missed calls from Vanessa. 12 from Marcus. 8 from Mom. Text messages in the triple digits. My Instagram notifications had maxed out at 99+. My email inbox was flooded. What the hell? I muttered, scrolling through the chaos. But here's the thing, it wasn't just my family losing their minds. It was everyone. Their friends. Our extended family. My parents' neighbors. People I'd gone to high school with. Distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. And they weren't messaging me to complain. They were supporting me. My cousin Rachel had shared my post to her Facebook with a long caption about how I was always running around doing everything for everyone, and how beautiful it was to see me finally living for myself. Her post had hundreds of reactions. People were commenting with their own stories about being the family helper, the one everyone leaned on until there was nothing left. The comments on my Instagram told the whole story. Good for you. You deserve this after everything you do for your family. Finally, someone is taking care of you for a change. Your family should be celebrating your success, not treating you like free labor. I've watched you cancel plans for them so many times. I'm so proud of you for this. You won't believe what happened next. Stick around, because this is where it gets really good. The narrative had escaped my family's control completely. They couldn't spin this. They couldn't play the victims. Because everyone who'd watched me be their on-call solution for years was now publicly acknowledging what they'd been doing. Suddenly, they weren't the poor family abandoned by their selfish sister. They were the entitled relatives who'd been exploiting someone's kindness until she finally snapped. Vanessa's voicemail was frantic. Sienna, you need to call me back. Everyone is making us look like horrible people. You need to post something clarifying that we never forced you to help. This is so embarrassing. Call me back now. Marcus sent an email, professional and cold, the way he writes to opposing counsel. Subject line: inappropriate social media behavior. He accused me of airing private family matters in a public forum and damaging family reputations for personal validation. He demanded I take the post down immediately. Courtney didn't message me at all. She just unfollowed me on every platform. Blocked me on Facebook. The digital equivalent of slamming a door in my face. Mom's message was the most telling. Please call me sweetheart. People keep asking questions and I don't know what to tell them. Your father and I are very uncomfortable with all this attention. Can we talk about this? Not, are you okay? Not, we're sorry. Just discomfort with the attention. With people finally seeing what they'd been enabling for years. I sat there by the pool, phone in hand, watching the sunset turn the sky orange and purple, and I realized something. The truth had always been there. Everyone had seen it. They'd watched me cancel plans, show up exhausted, stretch myself impossibly thin. They'd just never said anything because it didn't affect them. Now it did. Now my family's behavior was under a spotlight they couldn't turn off. Their friends were asking uncomfortable questions. Extended family members were sharing knowing looks. The social consequences were real. And I was halfway across the world, drinking fresh coconut water, watching the sky change colors, learning that the world kept turning just fine without me being everyone's solution. I didn't respond to any of them. Not yet. I had 4 more days in Bali, and I was going to enjoy every single one. They could wait. For once, they could wait for me. I came home 10 days later with a tan, a clear head, and a version of myself I'd forgotten existed. The apartment looked the same. My neighborhood looked the same. But everything felt different because I was different. I'd remembered what it felt like to matter. To take up space. To say no without guilt eating me alive. I turned my phone back on fully and waited. The first call came within an hour. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Then Marcus. Then Vanessa. I listened to none of them. What I did do was scroll through the aftermath. My Instagram post had over 2,000 likes. The comments kept coming. But more interesting was what I found when I checked Facebook, where the older generation lived, where my parents' friends congregated, where reputation actually mattered to people like my family. The conversations happening there were brutal. My Aunt Linda had commented on Rachel's share. I always wondered why Sienna never came to our events anymore. Now I understand, she was too busy being everyone else's help. One of Mom's book club friends, I remember her missing our holiday party 3 years running because she was watching Vanessa's kids. Those poor children need their aunt to have a life too. Even one of Marcus's colleagues had somehow seen it. Your sister sounds like she has better boundaries than most lawyers I know. Impressive. The shift wasn't because my family suddenly developed empathy. It wasn't because they reflected on their behavior and felt genuine remorse. It was simpler and more frustrating than that. Their image was damaged. And to people like them, image was everything. They couldn't show up to gatherings anymore without someone making a pointed comment. "Oh, is Sienna babysitting today? Or is she allowed to have plans?" Extended family members started declining their invitations, saying they were too busy, a pointed echo of all the times they'd assumed I wasn't. Mom couldn't complain to her friends about me anymore without someone reminding her that maybe I had a right to my own time. Dad's golf buddies asked him pointed questions about why his daughter needed to escape to another country to get a break from family. The victim narrative they'd been building, poor them, abandoned by their selfish sister, crumbled under public scrutiny. People had watched me bend over backwards for years. They knew the truth. They just never had permission to say it out loud until I did. And that's the thing about living your truth publicly. You give other people permission to acknowledge what they've been seeing all along. My family couldn't unsee what everyone else now saw clearly. They couldn't maintain the fantasy that they were reasonable people making reasonable requests. The mirror was up and the reflection was unflattering. So they did what people like them always do when they can't control the narrative. They tried to control me. 3 weeks after I got back, Marcus called. Not texted, called. His voice was different. Careful. "We need to talk about boundaries," he said. Boundaries. The word I'd needed them to understand for years was suddenly in their vocabulary. Not because they'd learned it through self-reflection. Because they'd learned it through humiliation. They started hiring babysitters. Vanessa found a nanny service. Marcus and Courtney began hosting dinners at their own house, with catering. Mom stopped calling with emergencies that required immediate responses. But here's what I learned from all of this. That photo wasn't just a vacation memory. It was evidence. Proof that I existed beyond their needs. That I had value outside of what I could do for them. For years, they'd convinced me that my worth was tied to my availability. That being a good sister, a good daughter, meant erasing myself to make room for everyone else's comfort. That photo shattered that lie, not just for them, but for me. Sometimes people only value you when you stop being available for them to undervalue. That's not cynical. That's just true. When I was always there, my presence meant nothing. The moment I wasn't, they had to reckon with my absence. One act of self-care, 10 days in Bali, exposed years of manipulation. Not because I planned some elaborate revenge. Not because I set out to humiliate anyone. I just lived my truth publicly. I stopped hiding how happy I could be when I wasn't carrying everyone else's weight. The revenge, if you want to call it that, was just me choosing myself. And letting everyone see it. That's the power of visibility. That's what happens when you stop protecting people from the consequences of how they treat you. If this story hit home for you, do me a favor right now. Smash that subscribe button. Hit the like. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been the family doormat? How did you break free? Where are you watching from? Drop your stories below because I want to hear them. I want to know I'm not alone in this. And maybe your story will help someone else find the courage to choose themselves too. Because you deserve more than being someone's backup plan. Today, a year later, my calendar is mine. My weekends belong to me. My business is thriving because I'm not splitting my energy between my dreams and everyone else's demands. Marcus and Vanessa don't call expecting instant availability. They ask. They plan ahead. They respect my time because they finally understand it has value. Mom still sometimes tries the family helps family line, but now I just smile and say, "You're right." And I'm helping myself right now. That photo from Bali didn't just change my family's weekend plans. It didn't just expose years of taking me for granted. It changed me. It reminded me that I'm not just a supporting character in everyone else's story. I'm the main character in mine. And I'm never going back to being the free maid. Not for anyone. If you needed to hear this today, remember, your time matters. Your dreams matter. You matter even when you're not useful to someone else. Sometimes the best revenge is just refusing to disappear.